Welcome back to Unraveled Beer Thoughts. Today we have a Rahr and Sons Winter Warmer English style dark ale. This is recommended to me almost every year. I have a buddy that used to work for them and said we should always drink these, and I think he has a tiered flight. And at some point we'll do that, but we'll see how it compares. Now, my hands down, what I consider a winter ale, even though I don't know that it's actually called a winter warmer ale, but it very much feels like that, is Great Divide's, what's the name of the beer? Hibernation. Great Divide's Hibernation is, to me, just about the perfect winter warmer ale. Again, it's not called that. There's probably some argument as to whether it would really be considered that kind of ale, but it feels like that. It comes out at that time of the year every year. It's roasty, it's good. Every winter warmer I sort of hold up to that bar. So, that being said, I feel like Rahr and Sons, the winter warmer probably starts a little bit behind the bar. I don't think I've had one of these for 2-3 years now. So this will be a good reminder of what they can do. I don't drink Rahr a ton, but for a long time I felt like their water base was probably not as good. At least that was my impression, and maybe they didn't get their water from Fort Worth, but I kind of had the impression that's where it came from. It smells good. It's nice, nutty, roasty aroma. Okay. Some good dark malts in there. Some nice roasty, nutty flavors. I don't think it's as good as a Hibernation, because I think Hibernation has a tad more toastiness that I really like. But this is good. This is kind of like Hibernation if it was a tiny bit smoother, with not as much toastiness and maybe slightly less hops. This is not overly sweet. I'd say this is pretty well balanced. Actually, as I taste it now, it might be roughly the same amount of hop. I think it's a tad sweeter than Hibernation. I have a hunch it's a tad less attenuated, just a tad. But that is a delicious English ale. I enjoy that. I would recommend the Rahr and Sons Winter Warmer. It looks like it's in a blue can this year. I don't think it always comes in a blue can. This one's just festive and very January-like, but I'd say maybe what would I give this? I'd probably go a 3.5 on this. It's not quite the 3.75 range where it's a little, not quite that tick up. Definitely not a 4. I wouldn't go chasing after this. It doesn't impress me. It's not like Hibernation to me is a 4. That is a good, solid, I will go after it and buy it every year. If I see it on the shelf, even if I'm looking for something else, it makes me want to grab it. Might even be higher than a 4. But this one's not bad. 3.5. I think that's a fair score. It's not bad. Just for context, I can't remember the last video that I said how I rate things. So I try to use sort of generally when you're doing beer judging, it tends to be like a 1 to 5, or I guess a 0 to 5 scale. Anything under a 2.5 would be, in my mind, and I am conceptualizing these in a very umbrella sort of capturing all. I'm not getting detailed with this description, but a 2.5 for me would be very average beer. You have made beer. It has no flaws. There's nothing innately wrong with it, like you have bad bacteria or something like that in there, or it's oxidized too much. So nothing like that. Anything that really bad notes falls under 2.5. 2.5 is right there on the. I'd give a beer a 2.5 if it was like, you made beer. I never care if I ever taste this again. It doesn't have anything unique about it. There's nothing off about it. It's just, you made a pale ale or you made a stout or you made something and there's nothing very great. 3 to me is like, this is a good representation of style to 3.5 would be a better representation of style. I'd say anything over 3.5 to 3.5 to 4 range for me is this is getting to be better beer. I'm not quite willing to go nuts about it and to go chasing after it, but it's better. And then when I get to that 4 and above, these are good beers. I mean, if I give something a 5, it's an immensely good beer, probably hard to get, and something I really, really, really enjoy. But generally, I'd say most of the beers I tend to taste, because I'm somewhat selective pulling stuff off the shelf, but most of the stuff I tend to taste usually falls in the 3.5 to 4 range, somewhere in there. If I'm less selective and I'm just grabbing random things, or I'm doing a tasting across, like for a style, and just grabbing different types of beer for one style, I might end up with some, 2.75s to 3.5s in that range, because I'm really just doing a taste comparison with different breweries. But for most of the stuff, I tend to grab 3.5, 3.75. That's not uncommon. But yeah, Winter Warmer, 3.5, maybe a 3.75. I'd have to think about it, and I'd have to taste it against some other things before I knew that for sure. But definitely a good beer, worth buying. I would get, if I knew I had company coming and I knew they were going to drink beer and they were looking for something kind of roasty. This is a beer I'd consider getting a 4 or a 6-pack or whatever it comes in of. It's tasty. So if you see this on your shelf, feel free to grab it. I think you'll like it if you like English style ale, which, if you're not familiar with English style ale, think kind of like a brown ale, but a little bit more toastiness to it. Something like that. There you go. Thanks for joining me at Unrivaled Beer Thoughts today. If you have comments, please post some comments. Please like and subscribe if you like to watch these beer tastings. And if there's something you really want to see me taste, post a comment. Tell me, hey, I want to see this beer. I can't promise I'll get it. We get quite a few beers here in Texas, and I can often find a lot of things here, but there is a whole lot of craft beer in the country. So if it's something you see on here and you really want to taste it, you're like, I want your thoughts. You probably have to send it to me, which is probably not worth the cost, honestly. So if I can find it here, I'll get it, and I will be happy to do a side-by-side. If there's something you're like, hey, I'd like to see this beer versus this beer, let me know. I'll if I can't find the exact beer, I'll try to find something comparable to taste alongside. So thanks for joining me today, and have a great evening.